physically present at the primary location and arrangements have been made for the voice of the remote participation to be heard by all. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am.
We do have a quorum. Mrs. Wright, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, seeing that we have met the criteria stipulated with the policy at this time, and Mrs. Wright is able to hear us, we would ask for a motion of approval for this to occur.
So moved.
We have we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. We're moving on. Ms. Wright, you're here now, okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. At this time, we will stand for the, first we do a moment of silence while we're standing, and then into the pledge of allegiance. Let us do our pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Board, if you would, and have the opportunity, we would like to have approval of the agenda for tonight.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. We have a second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second to approve this agenda as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has been approved. At this particular time, we're going into our public hearing, 2.01, the public hearing concerning the 2022-2023 school operational budget. Dr. Arnold, will you have comments, or should we see if there's anybody in the audience for comments?
Yeah, if
Okay.
anybody would like to come speak.
Does anyone in the
specifically on
audience
budget.
would like to come speak about, on the upcoming budget? With no comments at this time, we would ask that the board please have a motion to conclude the public hearing on the 2022-2023 school operations budget.
So moved. Second.
We've been probably moved in second with no comments. We are now closing the public hearing concerning the 2022-2023 budget. At this time, we're moving into our public comments. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to come and speak to the board pertaining to school matters only? If not, let me just say I do have a name here, Cleotha Freeman. You would come forward. Good evening.
My name is Cleotha Freeman. I'm on 185 Hilltop Drive in Cannon County. For my last drop off at 9:05 to 2 o'clock, my bus is my home. If I'm in Walmart, I'm at the garage. I really can't afford to go home, even though if y'all do give us a raise, I can't afford to go back and forth. I have 5 grandkids that attend Amherst County, from elementary school to the high school, and this has put our family in a very difficult situation. Some might think that the board or the superintendent and all do not care, look down on the trials, but I beg to differ. But I would like to take at this time to thank Mr. Hutchinson from Madison Heights, Dr. McGinnis for encouraging me to communicate with Dr. Arnold during my situation. I thank Ms. Lashana Lithicon, administration, Ron Campbell from transportation, Dr. Wells and Dr. Arnold for supporting my family. Mr. Cox has been here several times asking for air conditioning for our buses and a raise for the drivers. But I just wanted to let you know, whatever the board decide, I support. But I have, whatever the board decide, I would take. But if I had to choose between the raised air condition and the support that I was giving my family, I thank you. Hold on. Dr. Wells and Dr. Arnold, I thank you very much for what you have done for my family. Because without your support, I would not have my job, and they wouldn't be able to attend Amherst County High School, even if I go to Cameron County, live in Cameron County. So I thank the administration, and I thank y'all for what you have done. Thank you for your time.
there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the school board at this time? Please come forward. Seeing no one, at this time we will end our public comments. Board members, we're moving into 4.01 or into the fourth section for the consent agenda. If everyone has had time to review the minutes and the personnel actions for the superintendent, and you have no comments or amendments, I'll entertain a vote of approval.
Madam Chair, make a motion that we approve the action items, consent items.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Thompson, do we have a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded by Ms. Thompson and Mr. Grimes. All in favor? Any opposed? Consent agenda has been approved. We're moving into administrative items.
Rolling, caught me off guard there.
I know. Is that you, Dr. Wells?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board.
Dr. Wells, hang on,
yes.
I'm sorry, this is my turn.
Yep.
I apologize. I apologize. Yeah, you caught me off guard too.
What's going on here?
I want to introduce somebody to you guys tonight. I apologize. To my left is Ms. Kimberly Lukanich, and she is joining us as our new Chief Financial Officer here in Amherst County Public Schools. Ms. Lukanich attended Radford University, where she earned a bachelor's degree in business administration with a major in accounting and a minor in mathematics. She has an extensive background of experience in finance that totals 23 years. She began her career in finance as an accountant for 3 years with FWC Incorporated, and then 4.5 years with Wild Horse Trucking. In 2005, Ms. Lukanich began her career with Lynchburg City Schools. She has been employed with the city for the past 16 years and has served in several roles. She started in LCS as a budget analyst, then moved into the position of payroll administrator, then moved to a position of accounting supervisor. She was in those roles for 5.5 years. After that, she accepted the role of assistant director of finance, and she served there for 8.5 years. And then she was hired as the chief financial officer in Lynchburg, where she has served the last 2 years. We are thrilled that Ms. Lukanich has made the decision to bring her knowledge, leadership, and experience to the Amherst County Public Schools. Welcome.
Would you like to make a speech at this time?
I just want to say that I'm thrilled as well to be here. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to work with the board and with the wonderful staff that I have started working with as we've been training. I also will acknowledge, I know that I have some tremendous shoes to fill, and I will do my best to live up to your expectation as well as Mrs. Strout and Dr. Arnold. Thank you.
Well said. We all have our comments to you a little later, but on behalf of the board at this time, welcome to Amherst. Thank you. Thank you so much. Moving ahead.
All right. Madam Chair, members of the board, 5.01 is a policy. The first read is JHCD, the Administration of Medicaid Medicines to Students. And that came to us earlier in the year, but we were waiting on some guidance from the VDH and VDOE. So we received that guidance in October, November timeframe. So now bring this to you. But basically, it requires us to have albuterol in our nurses' offices and in the schools. So the albuterol needs to be available. And so this policy just basically puts that in place, and then the regulation, I've updated the regulation as well, which just states how we will handle the albuterol in the schools. So that's the gist of this policy. It's the first read. The Code of Virginia does require us to have albuterol starting in January, but they're available. And we also received $600 and a grant from the state to purchase it. But we will have it in our buildings, but the goal is to, again, be compliant with the state on this.
Any questions on the first read, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, Madam Chair. Dr. Wells, I'm not familiar with medication, and I'm all for, aligning with Virginia code on this. But I think the things that came to my mind are are there any risks for any of our students, like, that may have certain health conditions? So I'll give an example. Let's say a student had diabetes, and this might exacerbate that or something. Are parents going to be informed? Is that, just as we look at the policy, is that where parents can be informed, and if it's not to the benefit of their child, that they have some options with their medical provider.
So the buterol will be the nurse, and so if somebody's having an allergic a reaction where they can't breathe, so they're having asphyxiation, so to speak, and it's from an allergic type reaction or asthmatic type reaction, the buterol will be what that's for. So it's just to have on hand in case a student does not have theirs with them. And obviously our nurses will be the ones administering that, or other first responders, so it wouldn't just be given to anybody for any reason. There'd be specific guidelines there for that use. We would notify parents that it's available, and preferably we'd call a parent before we administer it anyway, unless it's a truly life-saving situation where we have to administer something. But kind of goes in there with the EpiPens and things of that nature, where there's a life-saving situation, it's available. But we would, obviously, if it's not that type of situation, we'd notify parents and have that contact, that information given to us from them.
I thank you.
Good question on that. Any other questions on the first read? If so, bring them back, or email Dr. Wells with your concerns. If not, we're moving on to continue, Dr. Wells.
Okay, yes ma'am, 5.02 is admin services. We'll start with the update on the auditorium project at the high school and high school renovation. We've received notification from the state that we've been approved to use the ESSER grants to put towards the auditorium project. That was we planned on doing that, but until we got the official word that this makes it official that we can use those grants for the project. As you know, in November, Dr. Arnold presented information to the Board of Supervisors on the project and requested they appropriate the necessary funds to cover the remaining costs. The Board of Supervisors is, my understanding, is in the discussion stages, their budget development and they're supposed to determine how much money they can appropriate towards this, and we hope to have that information in early January to be able to move forward.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the December 21st meeting, the Board of Supervisors, their consultant Davenport will be here to provide them with their options. So we feel like there's going to be some movement, at least in terms of an answer, in the next month.
Are there any questions? Okay. All right. Hearing none, I'll move on to the HVAC grant. So the state gave us eligible out there for, we are eligible for an HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning grant of approximately $800,000. We've applied for that grant. We have not heard back if we received it yet or not. We have applied for it, but that grant can be used to replace existing air conditioning systems and/or for new construction. So depending on where we are with that, there are some systems that weren't replaced when we did the HVAC work in the last time we did that remodel there. There's some systems at the high school, at the middle schools that haven't been completely renovated, but the majority of the grant we'd probably put towards the auditorium project if that is approved. To kind of offset some of the costs.
What's the period that they have to be encumbered for the grant?
It's basically the same as the others, 2024.
So it would fall at
It'll follow
that
the same.
timeline?
Yes. Next, I want to give you an update on transportation, and there's been some question about air conditioning on the buses. So to give you some ideas on cost and timelines, so then we want to get some information to move forward. But so the cost to retrofit 65 passenger bus, which are larger buses, it costs $11,500 per bus. We have 48 of those buses. That'll be around $552,000 to retrofit those buses. 53 passenger buses is $10,500 per bus. We have 12 of those buses, so it's $126,000 per bus. If we purchase new, a 65 passenger bus is $10,205 above base price. Base price is roughly $104,000 per bus right now, so that's $114,205 per bus for a new purchase. And 53 passenger buses is $6,098 above base price. Base price is roughly $101,000. So that would come out to $107,098 per bus. Just to give you some numbers on there so you have an idea what we're talking about. Electric buses, we have those two in the grant that we received. We contacted Sonny Merriman and they contacted the company, and they were too far along in the process, the build process to go back in and put air conditioning on. So the two new electric buses we cannot air condition. Just because of the process, and he said you can't retrofit because you have to redo all the compressors and everything else on the bus, and it would probably cost more money than the bus is worth to put air conditioning on it, to go back and retrofit those 2 electric buses. Our special education buses, as you know, are already equipped with air conditioning. A schedule, and talking with Sonny Merriman, they could possibly get 15 of our buses in this summer. And then in June, and depending on their schedule and how things go in June, we could possibly get 5 more in the July-August timeframe. And that would get most of our buses that are in the 1-year to 4-year-old class of buses that we could get retrofitted. Again, looking at your cost, you're looking at $11,000 per bus, roughly, depending on which one it is, so $11,000 per bus, so 15. So we're looking at, $150,000, $200,000 to get those buses retrofitted this summer.
So if I got the numbers right, it would be more cost effective to retrofit the larger buses than it would be the smaller ones, right? Because if you were to buy them with air conditioning already, it's less costly than buying the bigger bus with the air conditioning. There's not much difference if you retrofit either one of them.
It's roughly about $4,000 difference in retrofitting.
Right. So
Excuse me, it's $1,000 difference to retrofit,
right, but about 4 or 5.
but at $4,000 on a new bus.
Yeah. So my suggestion would be focus on the larger buses for retrofitting first.
Do we know if in other areas have they retrofitted? My experience, my personal experiences with retrofitted systems is they tend to be problematic, like there's usually issues. Because it wasn't, for whatever reason, designed. Now, I know that's been at least 5, 10 years ago, but I don't know, just curious from a maintenance track record of what we're looking at.
I don't have that knowledge. I know he is booked solid from now through summer for fleets of buses coming in to get air conditioning put on them over there, but I really, on the maintenance side of it, I don't have an answer for you this time.
So this is a trending thing in other
Yes.
localities?
Yes.
We're not the only one doing it.
And that's why it's full right now. He said he just can't get anybody, he can't bid us in to do it, but only about 10 or 15 this summer because of the number of buses he has coming through. So I guess at this time the question would be, do you want us to move forward with these 15 buses, or, yes ma'am?
I was wondering if I could please have a copy of all the numbers you just
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Because
I can email it to
halfway
you.
through it, I was like,
Yeah.
ooh.
I can email it to you.
So what's the total? Go ahead. Ann.
So if we do all the buses, all of our 65 passenger buses is 552,000. And then for our 53 passenger buses, it'd be 126,000. So you're talking roughly $680,000 to do all the buses.
And if you remember, we withheld roughly $900,000 in our CIP for this purpose, or partially for this purpose.
Now,
So you do have money in the CIP to cover that.
And I would also say some of our buses, we want to start with our newer buses first and get those done first. And then, because we might have some buses that are older that could be coming offline, that we, with the bus grants and things of that nature, I wouldn't want to retrofit those with a system and then spend $10,000 or $12,000 on it to retire them the next year. So we want to start by new buses and work our way through, and hopefully we can, in the process, work those other buses out. And if there's y'all's desire, we could, consider any new purchases of buses, any new purchases be with air conditioning as we purchase new buses moving forward into the next few years.
I'm curious with the leftover money that was held back.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was wondering if there's any way possible to do a raise with that?
Not with
That's
CIP.
And that's a reoccurring thing that
Yeah.
probably kind of.
But we'll talk about the raise a little bit later. And,
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about the governor's budget here shortly.
All right, thank you so much.
I'm for putting AC on buses. I don't know that I want to just at this point say, well, let's just retrofit all of them. I liked your idea of maybe doing some of the newer buses, and then maybe newer ones that we're bringing online, have those with AC. One of my concerns is just having the conversation about this without having our budget conversation, and other capital needs. Can we see the bigger picture to make sure that we're not just putting all the money there into the AC, and then if we're not able to do salaries down the road because we have CIP items that need to be taken care of. So I guess making this an isolation of that knowledge makes me a little nervous to just say, go ahead with it, unless the board, maybe wanted to say, we'll go ahead with X number of newer buses. But I think that, for me, the big picture is missing before we make a commitment. I know Mr. Terry brought it up last time, and we were all interested, but I don't know that we've had a robust conversation around CIP at this point.
You said you can only do like 10 or 15?
The max I could do this summer would probably be around 15 buses.
So
But that's all he could get scheduled.
170.
It costs $200,000.
There's roughly 150, 200, depending on what size buses I take,
And if you prioritize the newer buses, yeah, I think the same thing Ms. Berg and Ms. Thompson get at, because I really want to tackle the salary thing, maybe looking at that, and again, my experience with retrofitting has not been pleasant, so I'm leery about retrofitting.
I think we gotta realize that our CIP monies can't go towards.
No, I'm aware of that.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Okay.
aware of that, but Ms. Thompson brought up a good point. When we're looking at the big picture, we need to see all of our CIP needs before I jump on this, and especially, again, my experience with the retrofit, I'm just leery about that. I don't want to create a maintenance nightmare, and I like the idea of going forward, all of our new buses having it, but slowly retrofitting the fleet instead of trying to do it all in one lump sum.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not at a point where I need to reserve spots right now for this summer, but I wanted to bring this information to you since, we talked about it last month, and I wanted to give y'all some numbers on it and the process of what it would look like. But we want to bring you back and table it
Well,
till.
I have a suggestion. We will have a retreat regarding our budget, and at that budget meeting, we always talk about the whole picture, right? And so I would suggest we have that conversation in that meeting, so you get to see the entire picture at once. And then we, of course, can make decisions from that point. Would that be?
Dr. Wells, when do you need to start getting on the schedule?
I would say February, March timeframe to lock it in.
I had one more quick question. I was wondering how many of our newer buses do we have that you would recommend are new enough to go through to get the air conditioning put in on them?
Well, I would, again, if everything in the 1 to 4 year range, we probably have, there are about 12 to 15, 16 of those, so it kind of meets that number where we kind of are with the newer buses.
And how many that we're able to squeeze in for the summer?
He said as many as 15.
Okay. Thank you so
And in the
much.
process, I can also do some research on the maintenance aspects of them, just for that, just some more knowledge as we go into further discussions.
And when's the retreat? Is that in February, January?
Budget calendar. March.
First Thursday in March. It's
First
all-
part of March?
The first
First Thursday.
Thursday.
First Thursday. And Dr. Wells, would that put a crunch on the
I
timeframe?
think I could speak with Sonny Merriman and reserve some spaces and see if he could reserve some, and then if we can't,
I think it'd be one of those things where you could placehold it and then
yeah,
always
and
tell
do a
them, "Nah, we
placeholder,
changed
tell
our
them,
mind."
right.
But I'm sure somebody would backfill it.
Because we're not going to be signing any contract with them to do it, and the purchase order begin, we just put a placeholder out there, but that's some conversations I can have with them.
Well, if you had that conversation, there's an issue, can you bring it back to us in January?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So it seems like the pleasure of the board is to bring this as a hot topic item during the budget session in March, and then give more direction.
And have him reserve those
Yeah.
spots so we have it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that, everybody good on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that good, Dr. West?
It's fine with me?
All right.
Thank you.
COVID.
So 5.04 is COVID, so I want to give you some general numbers from the school division. Right now, we have 18 students that are positive for COVID-19, and we have currently we have 380 that are on quarantine. We have 4 positive staff right now and 7 additional staff that are on quarantine. Our numbers have started to increase again. We figured they would after Thanksgiving. We're seeing that number increase, and we're seeing that number locally. And Natalia, can you go ahead and pull up the VVH site? So for Amherst County, we're just pulling that up now just so you can see where we are in the. There we go. So, right now, our number of new cases was 13 yesterday. Our 7-day average is 10 cases. The 32.5 is the new 7-day average per 100,000. And if you remember back in the summer, early summer, before the governor changed the interpretation of the mandate, we said 30 would be our cut line for wearing face coverings. So we're still above that at 32.5. And then, so you can see our new cases per 100,000 is 356.8. So we kind of had a dip, and now you see the numbers are starting to go back up a little bit in Amherst County. And DDH for the region and Centra are also seeing these numbers starting to go back up. Their hospitalization cases have increased within the past couple weeks as well. Most of our cases continue to be the Delta variant. Although Omicron, they have stated, is likely to be in our area, but most of the cases still impacting us right now are the Delta variant type of cases that we're seeing. So I'm going to give you an update on just the numbers and some information on Omicron. Still not much data out there. It's just been reported in the past couple of weeks. But the early research is showing that the variant is highly contagious and more transmissible. Some estimates as much as 500 times more transmissible than the earlier variants, but the effects do not appear to be as severe from the research. There are reports of breakthrough cases, individuals who have been vaccinated and those who have natural immunity from already having COVID. There's a likelihood that it is in our area. Like I said earlier, it's expected that it's here in our area, but most of our cases are still the Delta variant that are affecting us. A little bit out of South Africa, there was a flight that went from South Africa into Germany. There was two flights, 300-person flights from South Africa to Germany. They tested everybody before the flight, and there were 0 positive tests. When they landed, there were 61 positive tests when they got off the plane, the same people. So it does. They're saying that it can spread really quickly. This came from the BDH data. So just be aware of it. It's here. It's more than likely here, but they're saying that it's probably not going to be as a negative impact on your body. Typically what they're saying is the ones that are they transmit more easily, but your body has a better chance to fight off the severe effects of it. So hopefully we'll be in a situation where it's not going to impact us quite as bad as the Delta variant did back in September. Any questions on that? I just want to give a little bit of information from what we've been able to gather and what I've been able to read and get from my other meetings. Okay. All right, 5.05 is the SRO MRU for our school resource officers. So in October meeting, we presented you a copy of the MOU with the Sheriff's Office. I have not received any questions or comments or concerns regarding the MOU, so we are planning on moving forward with signing it with Sheriff Byer and Dr. Arnold, but we just want you aware of that. And if you have any questions or comments, I'd be glad to try to answer them. Okay. Hearing none, I'll move on to 5.06, and this school board, it's a discipline report, so if there are any questions regarding the discipline, again, I'll be glad to try to answer those questions. All right. That's all this time, Dr. Arnold. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, you have at your place the budget monitoring reports, the revenue receipts, the budget summary by object code, enrollment information, as well as the state fall membership status report, which just gives you an information on how all of the divisions in Virginia are doing with their enrollment. Currently, we're about 142 students down from what was budgeted. We budgeted at 3934. Our ADM right now is 3792. Dr. Arnold was on a superintendent's, our regional meeting this week, and discussion of additional enrollment loss money, and they have that on the radar. The governor will present his budget next Thursday, and we should see whether or not we're going to get additional enrollment loss. We also meet with the state superintendent at 3:30 that afternoon to get a better idea of what the governor was proposing in his budget. As it was last week or last month, the fuel cost is over budget on 6008 object code, about $68,000. We still believe we can cover that with the savings we have in electric. I will be glad to answer any questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Crouch, I was just wondering, I was looking at the cafeteria budget, and I know that the receipts are less than the expenditures, and I know that's probably because we haven't gotten all of the receipts in yet. But my question is, you know, we're providing free lunch for all of our students, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So how is that impacting our cafeteria budget?
And I will go back to last year. Last year, we actually finished the year quite a bit ahead of the prior year. What you probably are not seeing is this is through the end of November. And so this cafeteria has not submitted their reimbursement for all of the meals served in November. That generally comes in December. So that money will be accrued back to November. So we were ahead a little over $100,000 last year after everything was said and done and all the expenditures were paid. And just for your knowledge, the child nutrition budget is one that we can carry over our ending balance from year to year. That does not get returned to the county. And so right now they have about 6 months worth of operating costs in their balance, in their budget.
And we just received notice today of roughly $50,000 in additional state grants for food and child nutrition.
And on those lines, Dr. Wells, how is our food chain going? I know we've talked about that in the past, and we were having some issues with alignment of our lunch menu that we were sending home with what was being served. Are we getting back on track with that?
We've been getting better. We were having issues getting the food out of the warehouse in Richmond because they didn't have tractor trailer drivers enough to deliver the food to all the areas that were supposed to be getting it. We had like 3 tractor trailers come in on the Monday after Thanksgiving break and resupplied our kitchens with food. So we feel we're getting closer back on track. There are still some items that are harder to find. There are some fresh vegetables that are harder to get locally, but as far as the main foods coming from the state and federal government, we're getting pretty much back on track.
Good.
And just to give you some information, Mr. Prophet with the county, they're in the process of getting ready to have their electric bills audited to make sure that we're getting the proper prices for our electric. And he has asked if we would like to join in on that audit. The commitment would be if they were to find savings, we would give the company that's doing the audit 33% of the savings for 1 year. And that's only if we realize savings. And I would recommend that we go ahead and work with the county and get our electric bills audited.
Savings from what?
So if the company finds that the power company is not charging us the proper cost for the different levels, so you have high usage and then low usage, they can determine if our bills are being properly billed, and then that's where the savings comes
And
in.
did they go out there, AEP or whoever's?
They do all the work. They do all the work.
Would we get the other 67%?
We get the other 60. And they only get the money after the fact, only after they've shown us the savings.
Sounds like a win-win.
It is, and the savings for them would only, the commitment to them is only 1 year. So after that, we get all of the savings. So that's, if you don't mind, we would like to go ahead and proceed with jumping on board with the county to do that audit.
Need a motion?
So we can do motion or consensus, either one.
Consensus is.
Consensus.
Yeah.
They may have to-
Good idea.
Okay, Mr. Prophet, no.
Anything else on the budget monitoring board members for this out?
Not unless y'all have questions.
We'll continue to be involved with the enrollment saga.
I mean, we have been told that is going to be realized in the spring, but we certainly don't know how the change in administration, we just have no way of knowing what's going to happen with that. But the belief is that it will be there.
All right, 7.01, that's Dr. Cruiser.
Well, tonight, it's going to be Dr. Wells is going
Okay.
to fill in for Dr. Norman.
All right. So again, so with this right here, I'm usually giving out negative news about COVID, so I thought I'd try to share something positive tonight. So back in the last summer, we entered into the grant with James River Association, the Noah B. Witt grant, which took all our 7th graders and let them get some experience on the James River doing the macroinvertebrate water quality, the biotic water quality sampling, where they look at what's living in the river and identify that, and then they can look at the water quality and determine what the water quality is. But it gives them hands-on experiences from the classroom. If you tell a student that we're going to look at this Helgramite, and that's going to tell us what this is in the classroom, they'll write the definition of a Helgramite, but they have no idea what that really is, right? But if you get them on the water and you can say, okay, these things can only live in certain types of water quality, and here they are, these are the species that we found, and now I want you to tell me what the water quality is. This is a hands-on experience, right? So we want them to be doing those hands-on experiences. Learn about the James River watershed, because again, every drop of rain that falls in Amherst County ends up in the James River watershed eventually. So all the streams flow into the James River here in Amherst County. So it's important for them to realize what they do on their property or on their farm or whatever, or going down the street when they throw stuff out the car window. All that stuff ends up in our watershed, which is the James River. And if you live in Madison Heights, your drinking water comes from Graham Creek, and when it's really dry, they pump off the James River into Graham Creek to offset the water due on Huron County, on the Madison Heights water. And up on this end is Buffalo River for the town of Amherst. So it's important to know that where the water impacts us and so forth. So we're doing this with the 7th graders. We do the trout in the classroom projects when they have the trout. We're doing those. That's going right now pretty well. So our 3rd graders do trout in the classroom. They go up on the stream and do the water quality at their level. 7th graders are doing this with the JRA trip. And at high school, we're doing some things with our biofuel ecology classes with the James River Association. But we're going to show a little video here. It's about 3.5 minutes. And it kind of shows what our 7th graders did, because I think it's important for you to understand what they're doing and to see what they did. And part 2 of this, moving forward into the winter, is they have to come up with a community service project, and they have to develop that in groups and then present that to the schools. We're in this grant with Hopewell and Surrey County, so our kids will develop their projects for up here for public service. Hopewell kids will do theirs, and Surrey will do theirs. They're going to present those to each other virtually this spring, and so the people in Surrey and Hopewell can see what the James River appears like, and our kids can see what the James River at Hopewell and Surrey is like, and know that it's all connected. Our water quality affects the quality of life down there in the river as well. So anyway, this is just a little snippet of kind of what our kids did when they did these James River trips.
Hello, I'm Rob Arnold, Superintendent of Amherst County Public Schools, and today we're at River Edge Park here in Madison Heights, just next to the James River, and our 7th graders from Amherst Middle School are here today working on the annual James River Association project, and those students have access to canoeing in the river. They're going to learn about the ecosystem, they're going to learn about the watershed, they're going to learn about pollution in the river and how to avoid that and how to keep a healthy environment here. But really for us, it is about what we want to do with our children in Amherst County. We talk about making students life ready. And we don't believe that students can be life ready by sitting in the classroom and reading textbooks and answering worksheets and coming up with definitions. They need to take that information and they need to come out here and they actually need to get their hands on it. It needs to be relevant. They need to think critically about the things that they're learning and help solve problems like pollution in our rivers and certain things like that. And so that's why we're here today. That's why we think this is so important. That's why our relationship with the James River Association is so valuable, because it gives kids relevance in their learning and they become life-ready students. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. We're here with the James River Association at Rivers Edge Park, and this is part of our NOAA BWED grant, in which we're working with our 7th grade students. And so we have our 7th grade teachers here today, and they're paddling across the river right now, and we're going to do a macroinvertebrate search in a minute. So we're teaching people how to use the kayaks, then we're going to do the macroinvertebrate search, and we also have a group working, look at the macroinvertebrates, learn about the river. So here's part of our education for the James River, and stay tuned. Really wanted you to see kind of what our teachers went through in August. I had all the 7th grade teachers out there to go through it. And then in September, October, we had all the 7th grade students go through it. And they went to water quality, they did biotic, they came back, they identified all the insects, and then they had to do the James River watershed, or the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and the food web and things like that to see, because they can put all that together. So it was a great experience for our kids. And again, to answer any questions you have, I think we feel this is a very important part of the education process, to get those kids getting these hands-on experiences. So, any questions? All right.
Good stuff.
Thank you very
Looked
much.
like fun.
That's great day.
All right, Ms. Jones.
Okay. Madam Chair, Madam Co-Chair, members of the board, happy holidays, first of all. Have several things for you today. First of all, at your place, we have a memo regarding our personnel vacancies, and we try to give that to you each month. So if you want to reflect upon that for a moment and update us as far as where we are currently. And I'll answer any questions related to that before we move on. We continue to work hard to get everything filled. We have a few things left in there, but we are making good progress.
Anything for the staff on this particular subject? None? Okay.
Thank you all. So secondly, we have posted and at your place a memo for proposed revisions to the current 2021-22 school calendar. As you can see, this was in response to requests made through the Superintendent's Advisory Committee to help provide additional planning opportunities, chances to kind of catch up at times to make sure we're in a good place and provide additional, I don't want to say breaks, but planning days in our calendar moving forward for the remainder of the school year. We're in a position where we have time in the calendar that we can give, and therefore transition multiple instructional days into teacher planning days.
and still be well within our requirements for 180 days or 990 instructional hours. So looking at that request, we kind of analyzed opportunities to make this effective for our staff. And as you can see there, the following dates that will be changed from instructional days to, one day that will be changed from an instructional day to an in-person teacher planning day, and that is the day following our current winter break, January 3rd, giving opportunity in person, but to have a day to plan, coming back from that, get ourselves, our minds activated again and be ready for our students to return to us. The second, we have 2 days that are currently identified as teacher planning days, but also inclement weather makeup days on the calendar that we would transition into at-home work days. So that will be for all staff opportunities to have at-home planning and work days for both of those. And those will be guaranteed rather than being considered for inclement weather. We also have 2 dates, and those are the ones I talked about at first, that are instructional days changed to at-home work days, February 4th and May 13th. The purpose of the days, the way they were selected, on average, I think it would, and I think I've written this in here, it would give us no more than roughly 10-day periods in between opportunities for planning and time to prepare for our students. So that was listening and responding to the feedback and information from the Superintendent's Advisory Committee, potentially also, and Dr. Arnold, I don't know if that was also from the Mental Health Committee.
Well, I was going to say that
Yeah.
this also came from the mental health team as well.
So you have this in front of you. This was something that was posted, and you have the calendar that's been revised behind that. And this is something that we would like to ask you to, certainly you can ask questions about this, but to consider for approval this evening, as it would impact pretty immediately at the end of our current break. But I'm happy to take any questions if you have any on this.
Definitely need it.
Yeah.
Well, this
Just
is,
listen to the teachers.
Well, and I think the question that Ms. Thompson asked me at the last meeting was what is needed the most, and the first thing I said was time,
Absolutely.
and to give some time to the staff.
If there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion. Does anybody have something to talk?
Quick question, I'm for giving the extra breaks as well, but how will snow days be, disinfect snow days?
so our remaining balance, if this is implemented, we would still have 19.7 days above and beyond our 180 days, and we would have 128 hours instructionally to get to our 990. So that gives us flexibility. I don't know what the weather projections are, but I think that if we were to get hit by something, having inclement weather or some other type of shutdown, it still gives us flexibility in that regard. And I think it's responsive to the requests and the voice of the employee.
And now we got Canvas, so we could always convert. We could go away with the snow day and have an at-home learning day. I mean, if we get pinched on time, I mean, is that correct?
That's correct.
You could transition to even.
As long as I can feed them. As long as I can feed everybody.
Oh,
Yes, we can do that.
Madam Chair, make a motion to approve the revisions to the 21-22 school calendar.
Okay, properly moved and second,
Second?
multiple seconds. So all in favor of this new calendar?
Aye.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
I think everybody will be happy with the additional holidays
Yes, ma'am.
and on.
I believe so. Lastly, for me, is just an update on our current 22-23 school calendar. The committee has been working to come up with a proposal for that. We did send out a survey in November to try to establish priorities from all employees. I think you all probably received that email to identify what the most essential priorities were to incorporate into that calendar. And so what the committee looked at and added into the current draft, the priorities that were the highest needs were inclusion of breaks throughout the school year, like fall, holiday, winter, spring, protected teacher planning days, planning days at the end of each grading period to ensure that they have opportunities and time to keep up with all the requirements that they have at those times. Earlier start and end date, so as compared to maybe starting later in August or towards September and ending later, starting as early as possible in August and getting out as early as we're able to. You'll notice that some of these priorities kind of compete. It's difficult to find a way to get out of school early when we're also incorporating more planning days and more breaks, so we have to find a balance, and we'll continue to look at that. More time to be in classrooms to prepare for our open house. And our open house is typically on Wednesdays, and the reason we do that, it's the day after our transition day. No, I'm sorry, it's the Wednesday that we're in back to school week, is because that gives transportation plenty of time to have people get registered, complete that registration process who have not yet, and then to do all the routing. So if we were to move our open house day later in the week, it would place a significant burden on transportation's capacity to be able to get that done. So we have made some adjustments that we'll talk about in a minute to at least try to provide a little bit more time in a better way ahead of open house. So that draft calendar with those priorities in mind was established and sent out. I think it was on December 3rd. We have posted that for open comment until the 17th, which is next Friday. What we will do is the committee will then take the results of that feedback, and I think we've had roughly 60 responses to date regarding that calendar draft, and analyze it again and determine if there are some things that we need to shift in our priorities or what more work we can get done to make that effective for everybody. Some of the feedback to date that we've received for comments on that draft have been actually fewer breaks and conclude at the end of May. The overwhelming majority of comments from those who have posted would probably say, can we still get out in May like we used to? If it means giving up breaks or starting earlier. If we started earlier in August, for example, taking the 2 days that we currently utilize, that will be difficult with our transition day and a few other things, but they're all things that need to be considered. Some individuals are indicating removing the fall break and having a full week off at Thanksgiving, indicating the efficiency of the 2 days prior to Thanksgiving and whether we should just give that break and not worry about a fall break. The rationale, how it's currently established, is it gives kind of an interim break in between Labor Day and Thanksgiving is the way that was given. And this year, at least, I think it was well received, but I do understand the rationale for that request. And to provide at least one work day per month. We talked about at the end of each grading period. There were numerous comments within the current responses about providing one work day per month. And then again, moving open house to Thursday, which is a challenge, but what we did do in the current draft is take, like for this current year, for example, we came in with a teacher work day on a Monday. Tuesday was a professional development day, and then Wednesday was open house. At a minimum, unless we revise it further, we switch those two because the first day you come in, that's the day we indicated as professional development because you probably might not get as much done on your planning day the first day you're back in and getting yourself together. Giving you Tuesday, full day Tuesday, as a teacher work day to prepare for open house unencumbered. That may not be the ultimate end result and answer, but that's kind of how it's been established thus far. So we've really tried to take these things into consideration. The interesting nuance to that is that the overwhelming feedback from the initial survey was emphasizing breaks, planning days, and time at a high percentage. And we do have a relatively smaller percentage now, but a majority of those that are responding indicating we would rather get out earlier in May. How can we make that happen? So sometimes the priorities are competing, and so the committee's going to have to take a look at that, analyze all that, continue to receive input through next Friday, and we are hoping to have a proposal to provide to you at the January board meeting for first review at the conclusion of that process. So I'm happy to take any questions you might have at this time.
Mr. Cavalier, it's not a question. I just want to thank you for working with me today. I know that we were talking about teacher representation on that committee.
Yes, ma'am.
And I knew that you said that you are getting a lot of teacher input, and I think that's very valuable, and you were very open to including those in the future on the calendar committee. Have teachers been included in that in the past?
And so teachers have been included. The last time they had a calendar committee was years back. I think Dr. Mayhew was in personnel department, but just because there wasn't a committee recently before I inherited it, I've created a committee. There has been teacher representation. It has not been overwhelming. In other words, we may have teacher representation, but it's probably similar to what it is now, where we have one individual compared to, we tried to really balance it to where we have representative input from all departments, buildings, and areas, also to include different positions, throughout maintenance, transportation, all the building levels and instructional assistants and so forth. But I do recognize the need to maybe increase that representation, and several individuals have communicated with me requesting that we do so. And it was in the past, not the real recent past, but in the past, that was a practice that was taken into consideration.
Well, thank you, that helps me understand the history there. And I appreciate you being open to that, and I also appreciate you giving teachers opportunity to look at the different options and give you feedback, so thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else on the calendar, or Mr. Gallagher? Thank you.
Thank you.
Students.
All right. Cece?
Hi, good evening. Oh. Says on. Good evening. I really don't have much update since last school board meeting, but I will say this. I'm going to shout out Coach Lance Carter for all the work he's done with FCA, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He spent, I think, about a month trying to plan something to get kids from Amherst and just other schools to go to Sandy Bottom Church last Sunday and enjoy worship, food, and games, all related to Christ. And I definitely think he did a great job with it, and he wants to do more. So I'm very excited, and I'm very, very thankful he did that. I will be trying to do something over the break with everybody, or trying to do something at least to get us together again, and so that we're not like missing a bunch of time with those 2 weeks and not being able to be in school and like seeing our friends and whatnot. So that's all I got.
Good evening, everyone. I have, once again, I don't have a ton to talk about this evening. It's once again been a pretty busy month wrapping up all the college applications and starting scholarships and scholarships and scholarships. So once again, I'd like to shout out the Future Center. They've been doing really awesome. They did a week a few weeks ago celebrating like each day, did a bunch of stuff, rewards, making sure everyone's ready to go to college or wherever they're going after school. A few updates. I mentioned last time that the Manellis and Robotics team went to the competition. They did that, I think, the Saturday after the last board meeting. While they did not receive any particular accolades, they performed very well. I'm very proud of all of them, and I'm looking forward to working with them more in the second semester as we go into a more diverse set of STEM activities. I was also able to help with the robotics class at Amherst Middle School, helping set up the robots that they just recently got there. And hopefully those will be ready to be used either by now or second semester. And they'll be able to start programming and building those robots. Finally, I was able to send out the student survey that I mentioned at the last meeting, and I got a lot of really great information about like preferences on starting time, just for high school students, just to be clear. This does not represent middle school students or elementary school students, but preferences on starting time, schedule, comfort level in both environment and COVID, and comments on the auditorium. And the overwhelming majority of students indicated that those who had heard about it, were looking forward to it, really excited, especially with the more classroom spaces for CTE and fine arts. If you have any questions about like the information that I got, I can answer questions now or at some point later on. But it was really interesting to see all of that. And that's all I have.
How was the morale with COVID and everything?
Most students felt pretty good about it. There were a few students who were concerned about, some students just not wearing their masks quite right, especially towards the end of the day as they're getting tired, let it slip below their nose or whatever. But the overwhelming majority are feeling pretty good about it, pretty safe at the school. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable.
And the college application stress?
I did not ask about that because not everyone's doing that. But a lot of students did voice that they are feeling very stressed as 9 weeks tests come up well, I guess that would be after break, but those who are in the Governor's School STEM Academy and I think early college have exams coming up next week.
Well, good luck.
We might just need it. Any other questions?
No, thank you so much, though.
Thank you, guys. That's all.
Okay, so I'm going to start tonight with a few recognitions. I'm going to do it from here, but the folks that get recognized, we'd like to come over here after that to get some pictures with you. Ms. Wright, I'm sorry, unless you want us to take the computer over there for a picture. No? Okay. All right, so I am going to start with Dave Cassisi. Mr. Cassisi began his term on the Amherst County School Board on January 2018, and you'll be concluding that at the end of this month. I would like to thank you for your unique perspective and experience on the mental health issues that have become such a prevalent part of our work. And I think that your input has been a driving force in providing the appropriate supports to our students and our staff. I also want to thank you for your advocacy for moving innovative practices forward in Amherst County. I know that you've seen some things even tonight, and I certainly hope that we can continue both of these things as a school division as we move forward, because I know that you put a lot of work in and have a lot of desire to see these things happen, and I feel good that they're moving in that direction. So on behalf of the staff here in Amherst County Public Schools, we want to thank you for your service, and we understand this is not an easy responsibility, and it's thankless, but we want to thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Wright. So Ms. Wright, she began her term on the Amherst County School Board in November of 2018 as a mid-year appointment. And you'll be concluding that term at the end of this month. I know that Ms. Wright had to go through the process every single year to get elected again because of the strange rules that we have. But Ms. Wright, I want to thank you for your strong advocacy for the development of our CTE programs. I know that it's always been near and dear to your heart, and in your tenure, I believe we've begun to realize some of those dreams of expanding our programs. We've just started the Regional CTE Academy. We're looking at providing space in our school to add more CTE positions, and so I want to thank you for advocating for the CTE programs. I also want to take this time to thank you for your great pride in understanding your role as a board member. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Ms. Wright took a class on Robert's Rules of Order. She learned all of Robert's Rules of Order, and I appreciate that because sometimes these things get hairy and off track, and it's always nice to know that someone knew all the rules. And so, Ms. Wright, we're certainly going to miss you, and I want to thank you on behalf of our staff. You've been a great board member. And if you have time in the next week or so to stop by, we have a gift for you.
Okay, I will.
Okay, is that it? No, that's not it. We got one more. It's Teresa Crouch. We're going to talk about Teresa a little bit here. So, first I want to say we're happy for you tonight. You know, you deserve the opportunity to spend time with your husband, with your children, with your grandchildren. And if you guys don't know a lot about Ms. Crouch, she has to be retired to spend time with her husband and her children and her grandchildren because she is always here. And so the only way we're going to get her to do that is to have her retire. And so we are happy for that. Now, we're sad as well because I believe we're losing one of the most wonderful people I've ever known. And you're selfless, you're genuine, you're humble, you're compassionate, and you're kind. And there's not a thing in this world that you wouldn't do to help somebody. You use all those traits every day to make everyone you come in contact with feel like they're the most important person on the planet. And that is a unique skill, and it amazes me every day. And we're also terrified. We're terrified because we're losing 33 years of Amherst County institutional knowledge. Not only the school system, but the community at large. You know more about school finance than anyone I've ever been around. Luckily for all of us, she's been a great teacher, and she has taken me through her master's level course on school finance, so I think we're going to be okay. But most importantly, Ms. Crouch understood how an operating budget made an impact on the lives of children. So, as I've been around school systems, you know, many people who have a finance background or work as CFOs in finance, they see the world through the lens of dollars and cents. And the children and community of Amherst County has been fortunate to have a CFO that saw the world through the lens of people. And for that, we are forever grateful. And you deserve all the joy that's coming to you, and we're certainly going to miss you. So, you want to come stand over there with
Speed.
I believe Ms. Lincoln would like to say a few words as well.
Well, you said all of the good words that I was thinking, but, and I'm gonna let each board member, they'll share theirs in their committee reports, but I do have just a couple of things to say on behalf of myself and this board. Teresa, when I first got here, I really didn't know anything about budget. That was not my big forte. And as Dr. Allen has said, and I will say, I don't remember ever asking you a question about finance and budget that you didn't have an answer. If you didn't have it right then, you say, I'll be happy, and this is her quote unquote, I'll be happy to look into that for you. And that's exactly what she did. Either she would come back right then with the answer, or she would email us right away. I don't like to speak on filling people's shoes or what's going to happen after you leave. I can only reflect on what has happened while you've been here. And you've been a friend for one thing. That's very important to me. You know, we all meet people through our lives, through school boards and through our teaching and learning. And there are people who have impacts on their life. And Teresa Crouch has definitely had an impact on my life as a school board member. So for that, I am grateful. She also drove me to Williamsburg. I seem to have to find rides all the time somewhere, even today. But we rode down to Williamsburg some years ago to the VSBA, and we talked from the time I got in the car here until finally we said, wow, we are here, and just having a good time. And as you all see right now, that smile that's on her face, I have not seen, the rest of us can be stressed to the max, but Teresa has maintained that genuine smile for all these years that I've known you. So without anything more than that to say, and the board will speak for themselves, but I want you to, you know, we give people plaques and we give people cards, and maybe we put the plaque in the closet somewhere or under the bed, and we say thank you for the plaque. But I want you to know that this plaque from the school board is different. Find a good place to put it so you can think of us all the time. And it has the motto here, which you truly have believed in, every child, every day. And it says on Amherst County Public Schools, the Amherst County School Board recognizes the retirement of Teresa C. Crouch and her valued years of service on the Amherst County School Board. Amherst County Public School thanks you for your dedication and your commitment to the service of every child every day. On this 9th day of December in the year of 2021, yours truly, School Board Chair, and yours truly, the board here in Amherst County. If you would stand as we, Teresa, let me just give you this. And a hug. Well, come over, let's see what we can do. We'll get a board picture in a little bit. Yeah, we get a board. Well, let's bring out the tissues here and move on.
All right, I'll go back to the business.
All right.
So the next two things are the Superintendent's Advisory Council update and the Mental Health Team update. So at our last meeting, I gave you what were some of the recommendations that came out of that group. What I want to do tonight is kind of give you what we've done in the meantime. And so if you'll remember, there were several items that had crossover between the two groups. And so a couple of those things were communication, making sure that we were doing a better job, not only communicating from central office to school, but internally in each school to give mechanisms for the staff to provide input, those kinds of things. So I can report that all of our principals have been working on in the last month, and many have already implemented those mechanisms. And so some schools have seek the input through grade level meetings or department chair meetings, some through their leadership teams, and I believe the high school, they did it through individual meetings. I know Dr. Brown had 109 individual meetings with 109 staff members, but for all of them, the idea was to get input and to see what was needed to be done to kind of help move through this year. And so they've all started that. They've all started working on their communication processes in their building, and they've sought ways to provide recognition to staff because they're doing a wonderful job. As far as communication is concerned, from my end, I started the staff report, very much like the board report that you guys get, but they'll get it on the different weeks. So they'll get theirs tomorrow, and we'll talk about stuff that's happened here tonight, plus other things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. The one good thing that came out of both groups, they've asked for time for planning, and thank you on behalf of them for approving that calendar. That was one of the big items that came out of both committees. So we want to thank you for providing that time. The thing that the Superintendent's Advisory Council started working on last meeting was to develop progress monitoring tools, because we're doing all these things to improve morale, communication, those kinds of things, but we need to know whether it's being successful or not. So that group in that committee will be working on how to determine whether or not we've been effective, because if we're not being effective with it, then we need to do something different. And so they're working on that. Mental health team, the big thing, besides the things that we've talked about, we've started working on a volunteer program that would provide each school with much needed human resource, so staff would not be pulled in all these different directions. And so we're working on developing the needs of each school in terms of just having humans that can come in and either be in a hallway, to be in a cafeteria, to give a teacher a 2-minute bathroom break, all of these things that, we kind of don't think about, but our teachers are dealing with this every day. Our staff is dealing with this every day. And so we're going to get out some information to try to ask for community support, volunteer support. And so we'll get you some information at the January meeting and beyond as to how that program's going. We do have, just so you know, we do have volunteer policies in place, and so they have to go through all of the normal background checks and all of those kinds of things, but we'd like to make these specific to each school's need, so each school has their own pool of volunteers that have folks that are willing to come in, and so they've started a lot of work with that, and we're really pleased with that. They've also started looking at the master schedule. So you guys talked about the calendar. They're looking at the master schedule, because one of the things they've determined in terms of mental health supports for our students and our staff is, where's the time within the day? Right? Where's the time within the day for breaks? for opportunities for the kids to actually exhale, right? Instead of just being, nose to the grindstone the entire time they're there. And so they're looking at ways to do that. That is a difficult process, however, because schedules in schools are very, very difficult, very complex, and you pull time here, and something falls apart on the other side. So that's gonna take a little bit of work and I know Dr. Norman worked with that group on Wednesday night to start figuring out ways that we can just provide time during the day for kind of support and intervention if it's needed. And so those are the things that they're currently working on. When we move into January, we'll start talking about other things that we can do to kind of continue this work. And so, but we wanted to make sure we're doing the things that we've started, we want to do those well first. We don't want to just jump to something else. We want to make sure that we've got those things in place. But it's been two great groups. They've been very thoughtful about what's been needed, and I think we're moving in a good direction. I'll certainly answer any questions that you guys have about either one.
Anyone at this time?
Okay.
I've been busy.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work. I need to provide you with a comprehensive plan update. It's our requirement that we provide you with these updates at different times during the year. I reported earlier that we have started getting these groups back together. We had a lot of momentum in 2019 going into 2020 with our comprehensive plan. We were getting ready to jump in and start implementing it, and then our world changed. So we've started jumping back into that. I know it's difficult to kind of get people to start moving forward again, but we have to move forward. We have to move forward with things that we think are going to be best for our students. And so our groups have started to get back together, started to implement different things. One of the things that you guys approved a couple months ago was the communication plan. And that was one of the big elements of the comprehensive plan. So what we're going to do through the rest of the year as we start to get into these committees and groups and starting to implement the things that are in our comprehensive plan, we will have a formal update at the end of the year on all of the progress that we've made with that. And we certainly hope that COVID cooperates with us so we can continue forward with that information. Dr. Norman, is that what you needed for the comprehensive plan?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any questions about the comprehensive plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Not specifically about the school comprehensive
Mhm.
plan, but it just triggered a thought. It's the county looking at their comprehensive plan. Are there updates that we need to make to that?
They've already worked with us on that. So we've been able to take what we're doing in our comprehensive plan and kind of lay it on top of theirs.
So you're providing the change to them?
Yes.
Can we see that as a board, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. The last thing that I have is budget priorities. Now, for the remaining members of the board, you will receive a document in January that asks you to kind of list out the things that you're most interested in terms of our budget. Like Ms. Crouch said, that we should be receiving Governor Northam's budget on December 16th, right before we leave for holiday. We'll have a superintendent's meeting, state superintendent's meeting to discuss it. As you know, Governor Northam's proposal is a 10% raise for staff over the biennium. So 5% one year, 5% the next year. But as you all know, you know what that means. That doesn't mean that all 10% is going to be funded by them. So we're going to have to do some work, obviously, to meet that. And like I said, we really don't know what's going to happen, though, when the new administration comes on. We know that Governor-elect Youngkin, he talked about raising salaries for staff, and so that was one of his election promises. So we'll see how that works out, and we certainly hope that that's what's going to happen. Another part of what is out there in terms of budget is providing schools with funds for construction. there's this big push amongst the legislators right now to look at, because I think there's, the last stat I saw, there might be 60% of the schools in the state of Virginia were built in 1950 and earlier. I mean, but that was the last time that the state provided real money for those types of projects. And so since then, there's been very little, and the school systems that have been able to build and do new construction, it's been based on the fact that they have the revenue in their locality. It didn't have anything to do with what the state was providing. So there's really a strong push towards that. Now, that's not gonna impact our specific operating budget, but I think that's worth watching over the next couple of months as well. So those priorities will come out, so start thinking about what it is that that you feel like needs to happen in our budget this upcoming year, and Ms. Lukanich and I will start working on it. December 17th, correct? 16th in the afternoon. Madam Chair, that is all I have.
Any questions for Dr. Arnold on these subjects? Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Arnold, when we're talking about the budget, can we get a list of positions that have been provided through either the CARES or the ESSER or grant funds?
Sure.
We've had a lot of money come in, and I'm used to talking about budget, and it's a stressful time,
Yeah.
but now it just seems like we have all this money. So I want to try in my mind to separate the two so that I know where's reality and then where's
Right.
blessing.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that the funds that we have that are coming in are really reaching our students and working with them on their instructional learning gaps. So if I can look at the positions, because one day when that money stops trickling in, you know, I want to be ready to know which positions do we have, what's the bottom line.
And how to move forward.
How to move forward, yes, when that reality,
Yeah.
when that reality hits again, and sort of like how long is that gonna last?
Yeah. We can
I
have
know
that
that's
for you.
gonna impact our services, and so I just wanna be ready for that.
Absolutely.
You know, the budget, pre-budget request. All right, we'll start with Mr. Terry. Got something good, information for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the STEM Academy has not had a meeting since our last meeting, so there's nothing to report there. I'll start off with my report and say this seat here, as being on the board, is always a struggle because you try to come up with all those people you want to thank and all that. But tonight, it's actually a privilege to be first. So I just want to say, Teresa, thank you very much for all that you've done. I cannot overstate what Dr. Arnold and Ms. Ligon have already said, but they're correct in everything they did say. Sitting there with the mask on, we can tell you're sitting there smiling. You're always smiling. You come into these offices up here, you don't always see smiling faces with everybody, but we do when we talk with you. And every time you are talking with anyone, one-on-one, that person is the most important person you know at that time. You give them your 100% attention. You satisfy their needs that they are looking for at that moment. Very few people I can say that about. But it has been a privilege, an honor, and I wish you much success after Amherst County Public Schools. So, everybody else, okay. David and Amanda, thank you for your services. You'll be greatly missed. I'm not going to gush on y'all like I did her, sorry. Santa and Peter, good luck with all the stuff you guys have going on. It's a busy time for you guys. I know it's like you said, Peter, with all the college applications and different activities you guys are involved in. It's a great thing. And Santa, I agree with you. The FCA group is an awesome group to be a part of. I hope more people will participate in it. And those outside programs really make your school experience. You come into class and you learn, but it's the groups that you're in outside that really make you as a person. And Peter also, like I said, with the robotic stuff, getting out and getting hands-on, doing things like that. It seems like just a little project or a little fun thing to do, but you take away so much more, doing those things. It's a great thing. You like to get as many people involved. You learn a lot by using your hands, and like Dr. Wells was saying with the James River project, the river here, in borders our county, it's such a great asset for us, and so many people never do anything with the river or the mountains, but it's all makes up our great county. So to have the kids go out and knock around in the river and learn, they learn a whole lot more while they're knocking around the river than sitting in the classroom going, they can check the box if they know what things are. So I commend all those kind of projects. They're awesome to be a part of. And we look forward to all the upgrades at the high school. Got our fingers crossed that the county comes through for us and we can get that project started. So, Dr. Wells, also the school buses. I did bring that up last month. Anything we can do to try to help out our employees and our students, it goes a long way. I know we set that money aside, and I know we can't do all the buses. We can do some of them, but the ones we can do, I personally think that's something we need to make a priority. So I'd like to keep pushing forward on that. And Mrs. Lucana, you got some big shoes to fill, but I'm confident you'll be fine. Thank you for accepting the position. Look forward to working with you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bradley.
No committee reports, Madam Chair. CIP committee hadn't met. As far as other items, Ms. Freeman, I think that was the lady that spoke this morning, public comment. Thank her for those comments. That's especially this time of years to highlight efforts of kindness and just you always hear a lot of the negative stuff, so it's always good to hear something positive that schools are making and that's impacting her life. So thank her for her comments. Board members going off. Ms. Wright, it was a pleasure meeting you. I didn't know you before this experience, and I'm glad I got to know you, and you will be missed. Mr. Casisi, I've been with you since high school, so it's we'll keep plugging along. But thank you both for your service to the board, and like Ms. Terry said, you will be missed. Thank you to school board reps. Always a bright spot in the evening. I love your reports. It's like the inside track, so I always enjoyed that. So, and the rest of the committees or rest of the departments, thank you for the information you provided this meeting. And then Ms. Crouch. Everybody kept saying stuff about the shoes to field, so I couldn't help. That's what I like. And I looked, there's bright red shoes there, and I said, that's one thing you never let our budget do, is go into the red.
You see, this is all in honor.
Was it coordinated? I like that. I like that. I was waiting for you to click your heels together and you're retired. I figured. But all the best wishes to you in retirement. And building on our little inside joke, I hope that VRS check, the first one you get, is a little bit more than $1.298. So, thank you so much.
I would just like to say thank you to our public comment today. I didn't catch the lady's name, but again, it was nice to hear something good from the public comment today. And to our student reps, love hearing you guys every month. And I would like to say what an honor it was to serve with Mr. Casisi and also Ms. Wright. They will be greatly missed, and thank you for putting up with me in my first term. And I'm going to keep it really short. But Mrs. Crouch, I can't believe I'm so emotional over you leaving. But you're going to be so greatly missed. And you know, you not only helped us, but you touched us. And I'd like to thank you and wish you good luck. Thanks.
Mr. Cece.
Okay.
Speech.
I'm not good at speeches. Thanks to our student representatives over there. Keep plugging at it. It really means a lot to have you guys report back on what's actually happening on the ground. I mean, this is why we're here. So thank you for your representation. I want to thank the administration, the community, and this board for trusting in me. I hope I represented well and did the best that I could. And Amanda, it was an honor serving with you. Best wishes to you. And Teresa, I mean, what else can be said? I mean, it's like all the positive adjectives in the dictionary apply to you. I mean, you've been so good. I've tried my hardest to stump you, and I could not. You're an amazing person. You're amazing in your job. We were blessed to have you, and your family's going to be blessed to have you a little bit more now.
Ms. Wright?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So even though you're all little heads down here, I'm going to start looking at the camera so that I don't look so strange. I'm going to start with my governor's school update. And I'm going to look at my phone. So we met last week, and the governor's school has scheduled their promotional visits, and Amherst High School is scheduled on December 14th, which I'm sure the administration knows and is on top of. And also, I thought it was pretty neat that they had some kind of robotics mission. I guess they designed a robot that is going to Antarctica. The class was divided into 8 groups that put this robot together, and it was constructed. One of the parents actually was on the mission to Antarctica, so they're taking a robot from our area to the Antarctica. I thought that was pretty cool. And the student reps keep on representing. It's important to be involved. It's important for the community to know what you have to say too, so definitely let your voice be heard. Okay. So whenever you give an appreciation or a goodbye speech and you want to start naming people, you always leave somebody out. So if I leave you out, I'm sorry, but I have so enjoyed serving on this board. I've enjoyed representing Amherst County and the people I've met and the viewpoints that I've come into contact with. Mrs. Crouch, I agree. You are like the Britannica encyclopedia. The information that you have in your head is just amazing. It amazes me every time I have to get something from you. Mr. Cassisi, yes, I agree that serving with you has been a joy too. I've enjoyed serving on this board. I've enjoyed your leadership, Dr. Arnold. Thank you for your kind words about me. And so now I'm just lost in emotion, and I'll let whoever wants to talk.
Well, I don't have a committee report, but I did get to attend the SBA training this week. I thought it was really valuable. It was talking about how we can use policy as a board to ensure staff and teacher engagement, and just to promote that positive school culture, staff satisfaction. So I thought it just really gave me some concrete ideas that over time maybe we can share with each other to just put structure to the process and ways that we can just use some common sense things to bring about a positive culture in our division. And I know Dr. Arnold and the staff has started working on a lot of that already, but it was something that I never knew about, so I'll share more of that later. But it was very worthwhile. Also, I would like to just express, the excitement that I saw in the faces of those that went on the Be Wet James River Association, just the hands-on and excitement. It was a good video, and I appreciate that very much. I wanted to be there. So as much of that we can do and you can share with us, that would be welcome. Also, I would like to thank or welcome Kim, and I'm going to try to say your last name, Lukanich. Did I say that right? Okay. Well, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. And Mrs. Wright and Mr. Cassisi, I have enjoyed working with both of you. You both bring such unique perspectives and different experiences to the board, and that's one thing I've really enjoyed about being on the board is each person has their own unique, not only personality, but expertise, and it's been a nice team effort to work with you, and I just appreciate your service to our county and our schools. And Mrs. Crouch, like all the rest, I can't say it all, but I can say one thing that I know is that you have a servant heart, and it shows because of all of us. You serve each one of us every day, and no matter what it is, we just wish you well. You will be extremely missed, and I can't say enough good things. But I do know, as we move forward, we cannot let that be the end of us seeing each other. So just best wishes, and know that you're loved.
Well, I'll just start with my report real quick. We did have a law board meeting last week, and Mr. Neighbors and myself were there for Amherst, and Lowell is, we're having some issues like everyone else is having with keeping people and retaining people. We have some vacancies that we need to look at filling. Lowell is also in the process of, and the superintendents are aware of this, of having some consulting about the future, not of Lowell leaving, but of what Lowell will be doing in the future. So that's upcoming. I will keep everybody abreast of that because things change and needs change around the community for the children. So we're excited about what's going to happen there as we move forward. I was excited to attend the VSBA meeting in November. I think that was since we were here. Went down with Dr. Arnold and Natalia. And I'll be bringing back some things in the coming year, but as like Ms. Thompson said, there's a lot of good things being talked about out there. I went to more of the parental and community engagement meetings, which we'll bring back as we have our retreat. I think we're already doing a lot of these things here with the comprehensive plan and some of the things that Dr. Arnold talked about tonight, so I think that Amherst is on the right track. I'm looking forward to, Natalia, is there any end of the year activities at the schools that you know of yet? You don't have to do it tonight.
For December. For December, you're talking
Uh-huh.
about the end of the year. I sent those to you in the board report.
Okay, all right, and so we might can get out a few schools, not many because of COVID, are having a few Christmas events in the coming weeks. I know Manelson is having their concert next week, so we'd like to get out and see a few of those things and bring it to your attention. We also need to schedule the present board and the new board to come. The VSBA has contacted me again about getting together for our norms. So we're going to send out some, I would suggest that we send out some Google dates to see, kind of mandatory, that when the new board gets here and the new chair is here, we can get on board with that fairly early. And Mr. Cassisi and Ms. Wright, I echo the sentiments of the other board members. It's been a pleasure serving with you, Mr. Cassisi. We've had some good hard talks and been good information for what you do for a living and what I do for a living and what we do for a living for the children. And Dr. Arnold is right, Ms. Wright, you're very good with those rules and regulations. And so everyone has brought great things to the table. We thank you for your representation of your districts. And we might not be sitting here with us, but we'll see you. We'll see you out there. Feel free to come and holler at us. No, don't do that. Feel free to come and talk to us. Get that straight. Whenever you feel the desire to do that. But we're just enjoying ourselves. We're getting ready to face the holiday season, and I'm hoping you Lancer Lane people over there will have a great holiday, and the information that you bring to us. Now, we might get more strategic with you next year. Some of these things that we're discussing, we might ask you what you think about it. I won't do that tonight. You know, what do you think about some of the things that we're doing for you as a student? But continue all the good work, and we appreciate everything. thank the staff for all the information that has come forward for us tonight. I'm looking out there at you, looking great, and I'm hoping that we will see Amherst County be the high school. Surely that event, I'm hoping we'll come to pass. Did we miss the joint meeting? Did I miss the joint meeting?
I was wondering the same.
We haven't had it yet, have we?
No.
Good.
Is it December?
Yeah, we haven't had, well, I don't think one has been set yet.
Oh, okay, that's fine, as long as we miss it. I'm trying to think if we miss it. Hopefully we can have some input on that. So we're not gonna rabble on and on. Want to wish the staff here, and Teresa, I'm not gonna talk no more about you right now, because I'll be all pieces, but we will see you before you leave the grounds of this building. But, and also know where you live. Just cause people now, they see a post on me, drive by, throw something out at them. So, we want to wish the staff here at Amherst, on this great administration that we've had through this year of 2021, all the trials and tribulations that we made it through. We want to wish you a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas and a happy holidays. Looking forward, if it's God's will, I'll say that, if it's God's will, looking forward to coming back in January to see what else we can do. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And don't worry, we'll be bugging you just like we did, helping us read and write the numbers of this county. So with that said, if the board doesn't have anything else, we're saying goodbye to some and hello to some, and see you around to everybody else. But we do have a closed session. Dr. Arnold, will you give us the reason for that?
Yes, ma'am. A closed meeting will be held. It is necessary to discuss a personnel matter, mid-year superintendent's evaluation, Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A1, and student matters, Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A2, religious exemption.
Do we have a motion to go into closed session, board?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Wright, we'll bring you along.
Okay.
My name is Naomi Giles, and I'm the school librarian at Temperance Elementary School. I want to say thank you to the Education Foundation for 2 grants that I received last year that have drastically changed my library and impacted it in a very positive way. So the first grant I received was for these Playaway audiobooks, and these are just little battery charged books that are audio format. I did not have any audio format prior to this in my collection, so the kids absolutely love these. I cannot keep them on the shelves. It's primarily for 2nd through 5th graders, and they can take these little books, put their headphones in, and listen anywhere they go. On the bus, at home, whether they're on vacation, wherever, they can listen to their audiobooks, and they absolutely love it. I also received an iPad, and I use this with my green screen. So this is great when I collaborate with teachers. We're able to do some really neat projects with the students. We can also make school-wide videos, and the kids love using it and learning about that technology. So thank you to the Education Foundation.
Hi, my name is Carla Stinnett, and I'm the 3rd grade teacher at Temperance Elementary School. I would like to say thank you to the Amherst County Education Foundation. They recently accepted my grant for an Echo show. Since students are required to sit in their seats more than ever as we deal with COVID-19, an Echo show allows a touchless way to access music videos, read-alouds, poetry, brain breaks, timers, and even daily jokes. The students are loving the brain breaks throughout the day. We can also ask Alexa questions.
All right, good afternoon. We're here with the James River Association at Rivers Edge Park, and this is part of our NOAA BWET grant in which we're working with our 7th grade students. And so we have our 7th grade teachers here today, and they're paddling across the river right now, and we're going to do a macroinvertebrate search in a minute. So we're teaching people how to use the kayaks, then we're going to do the macroinvertebrate search, and we also have a group working, looking at the macroinvertebrates, learning about the river. So here's part of our education for the James River, and stay tuned.
conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Adams County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered. Motion to certify.
Make a motion to certify.
Second.
Is this what you call
Ms.
it?
Ligon? Ms. Ligon?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Katsisi?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Burton? Yes. Mr. Greiser?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Okay, do we have?
Got it.
Yes.
I make the motion that we approve the superintendent's recommendation for religious exemptions.
Okay, do we-
Second.
Okay, it's been probably moved and second to approve those exemptions. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'll entertain a motion of adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn?
That's right.
Second.
Second, Amanda, that's your last one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank y'all. Good night. Bye, Amanda.
Bye.
Bye, Amanda.